Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And a couple more Christmas cards for this year's holiday card series. As always, I'll have a link at the end of the video to the playlist where I will continue to add the Christmas cards and holiday cards as I make them. Those videos will go on that playlist and you can check it out to see any of you missed, go back to them, etc. And I will also link at the end of the video my wax seal playlist, because I actually pulled out some of my wax seal supplies. It's been a minute since I've used my wax seals. I've talked about it a lot. I collect. I have many collections. I have many collections for many things. Wax seal things is just something I have collected for quite some time now. And specifically, Honeybee Stamps has been releasing wax seal products for, I'm not sure how long, but I've done videos using them, and I have a playlist with a few videos. I did an entire live overview. That'll be in the playlist as well, so I'll link to that at the end, where I just go over a lot of the ins and outs and different things. And yeah, making a point of starting to use some of my things instead of just hoarding and collecting them. So I incorporated some wax seals, and I had a lot of fun. I used a bunch of new products from Honeybee's latest release. As of filming this intro, I haven't done a release and review video yet. I do plan on it. I have 5 million things on my plate, but hoping to do that really, really soon. And yeah, just keep watching and I'll show you guys how I made these cards. Alrighty, so I definitely put a lot on these cards. I had 5 million ideas running in my head, and yeah, let's just see how much I can pile on onto one card that, as always, since I had all the supplies out, I thought, why not make two? So I started with the Honeybee Let It Snow stamp set, and I just chose 3 of the snowflakes in the set. The biggest one, and a medium one, and a small one. And I'm using some soft navy cardstock, and I wasn't paying attention. And the second piece is smaller than the first piece because I just grabbed these out of my little scrap bin. And I'd used my anti-static powder tool on it first, and then stamped the images with clear embossing ink. Right here is where I realized, whoops, but I'll fix it in a second. And then after stamping with clear embossing ink, I coated them with Simon's silver embossing powder. So I poured the embossing powder over this large one on this second piece. Those 2 other ones we're going to ignore for a second. So I heat embossed that first, and then I just trimmed that out of the cardstock. And then while I was at it, heat embossed these first snowflakes that I'd done, so I don't accidentally forget, because that's happened. So heat embossed those, and then that piece that I trimmed off, flipped it over. This is why cardstock has 2 sides. And then I used my anti-static powder tool on that, and then I can just restamp those little snowflakes. I just, visualized where they were going to stamp there on the cardstock, inked them up, stamped them, coated them with the embossing powder, and melted them. So once these were melted, I used the coordinating wafer dies to die cut these out, and it makes me like them even more. This largest snowflake, honestly, I was like, I don't know. I don't know what it was. It wasn't fully appealing to me. But then when I looked at the coordinating wafer die, I was like, oh, I like how the wafer die cuts out all the detail, all the little inner pieces. I was like, oh, that makes it that works for me. I really like that. So it's funny sometimes. A lot of times, in fact, almost all the times, my initial gut reaction, whether it's stamps, dies, whatever product it is, when I'm just like, okay. And then it ends up becoming my favorite. It's yeah, that's usually why I don't like giving immediate first impressions of anything. It's give me a little bit of time. Just give me some time to think, give me some time to use it, whatever it is, and then 99% of the time I end up loving it. So anywho, I die cut those snowflakes. I set those aside. And then I cut down some gold glitter paper. So I've got these panels. And then I'm using the Honeybee Scattered Stars A2 cover plate. And that I die cut from white cardstock, just A2 sized white cardstock panels. And oh, this cover plate is fun. It die cuts all the stars, but then it also debosses little stars into the cardstock. And I've talked about this a lot. Honeybee has been doing this with a lot of their wafer dies, adding in all of the debossing details that just step them up. And oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. It just, I don't know, it just all that extra texture and look and everything. So I trim those panels down to smaller than those gold cardstock panels, because the gold cardstock is going to mat it and then peek through all those little star openings. And then one of the pieces left over from trimming the gold cardstock, I die cut using some of the lovely Layers large snowflake dies, which again, those ones also have a bunch of debossing detail, but you can't see it on glitter cardstock because it just is what it is. Anyway, my plan though was to layer this one on top of the heat embossed one and then to add wax seals. So like I said, I have a playlist with videos and info and all of that. You can check that out because I have gone over extensively, like all things wax seals, all the different, everything, the little furnace here that you can see, and using tea lights, all that. My biggest thing is, while I create in chaos, and I always have a mess on my desk, when I have something on fire, lit on here, I keep the card, anything flammable away from it. I'm just very, very aware that is there. It's a flame. Got to be careful with it, and on top of it, this gets hot because it's a flame, but like the metal parts, everything. So I've got my little silicone, this one's the Honeybee one, but like my silicone mat, because I'll end up resting the spoon on this later, just be safe, be aware, all the things. And I dithered on what colors of wax melts to use. The actual wax seal, like the wax stamper, came out last year, the year before, I forget. It's the Honeybee Snowflake one. Same with the wax melts. I had the Winter Wonder ones out, and those are the blue collection, and then changed my mind and it went with the All That Glitters wax melts that have gold and silver, because that was my mood for this card. I was like, blue, gold, and silver. Why not? So I put 4 wax melts into the little spoon to melt. So 2 silver, 2 gold. And then I pulled out some silver embroidery thread because I couldn't find, I apparently don't own just silver thread. I thought I did. But I pulled out the embroidery thread and kind of edited a bit of it out of the video because separating the strands, it took me a while. But I wanted to create a little nest of the thread, which you can't really see on camera, but you can see it in real life and you'll see it like in the photos and stuff. So I created a little nest of the threads and then taped them kind of into place with washi tape because you won't see that. And then I poured the wax onto here and then pressed the snowflake wax stamper into it. And then I've got this super fun layered snowflake embellishment. And I'm just going to repeat the process. So I had a little scrap from the last time I had used this. I keep like my little wax pieces. I just pour them out onto like the silicone mat, or I scoop them out of the spoon after it's cooled off, whatever. And I just put it back in the container with everything else because I can reuse it later. So that's what I did. I was melting that. I added a couple more little wax beads, created another little nest with the silver thread, stuck that to the center of my snowflake embellishments. And then once all of those wax beads were melted, same thing, poured that right onto the center and then pressed my snowflake wax stamper into it. You can create these separately and adhere them. There is like different types of adhesive, and same thing I've shown in other videos. I purposely wanted to just pour this right on. It's a little more risky and they don't turn out perfect, and I'm fine with that. Also, I blew up my tea light and I cleaned out the spoon with some tissue after pouring out that little excess there. When it cools off, I'll just throw that back in the container. But I carefully, with the tissue, clean out the wax spoon because it is hot. And then I just set it on the little silicone mat to dry or to cool off. And there I've got my little snowflake embellishments. And yeah, when I'm able to, or when I'm feeling up for it, I like to just pour directly onto my card, etc. because that just, it seals everything together. It just adheres immediately. But yes, there are, Honeybee sells them, and I think other brands have them as well. Special like stickers and whatnot. I don't like using liquid adhesive to adhere wax melts. If you make them separately, it doesn't hold it, because you're literally, again, you're adhering to wax. Okay, I'm gonna go, yeah, my other videos in the playlist go on and on and on about that. So after I made my little embellishments, cleaned everything up, set it all aside, aka just shoved it out of camera out of the camera like viewing area, I adhered the white cardstock that I had die cut with the Stars A2 cover plate. I adhered that to the gold glitter paper, and then I had trimmed down some of the paper from the Honeybee Pinstripes and Polka Dots winter pattern paper pack. I know, I'm actually using some of my pattern paper even, like, and it's new pattern paper. That's like shocking. Literally. Usually when you guys see me use pattern paper, I'm like, this is from an old collection that came out like 5 years ago that's no longer available, so I feel okay using it. This is new. I haven't even done a release and review video on it, and look at me cutting it up and using it. It's amazing. Look at the, progress I've made. Anyway, I also used a little bit of paper from the Winter Wonderland paper. I do love, and that's why I hoard it. I can't help it. I love Honeybee's pattern paper. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So I used little bits of it. So I cut the polka dots and pinstripes is A2 sized. So I cut it down, I adhered that glitter cardstock, etc. to it. And then the remaining little strip, I just flipped it around because it's double-sided and adhered that along with that other little strip I cut from the other pack. And I'd like torn the bottom edges. It just gives it that little extra something. And then fiddled around with my layout because I was not sure what I was, I had a rough idea. I kept trying to use that medium-sized snowflake that I heat embossed, and it wasn't working for me. I don't show it on camera, but I actually ended up adhering it to the back of the card because it was sitting here. And yeah, next time I use a snowflake set, I'm most likely going to do a completely different color combo. So yeah, I just glued it to the back of the card. Why not? So once I was kind of like figuring everything out, I was like, okay, I need to get my sentiments. So I grabbed more of that soft navy cardstock, and I'm going to heat emboss sentiments from that Let It Snow stamp set. I love the sentiments in this set. The mix of fonts is pure perfection. I love. So again, anti-static powder tool. I used my MISTI for this larger sentiment, inked up with clear embossing ink, stamped it onto this cardstock, and covered it with that silver embossing powder, rotated it, repeated the process. And then that large scrap of soft navy cardstock, I used the anti-static powder tool on because there was just big enough spaces there. So I just stuck it into my MISTI just so I have it on top of the grip mat, and then stamped another sentiment from that set into those little spaces with just a clear acrylic block, covered those with the silver embossing powder. Gonna melt these with my heat tool. Once these are all smooth and shiny and fabulous, because metallic embossing powders, it'll never get old. I say this so many times in videos, but it won't. I have been making cards for over 20 years. Melting embossing powder will never get old to me. It just, especially metallics, it literally is like magic. I love it. So melted those and then wiped off the excess anti-static powder. And then I used the coordinating wafer dice to die cut these, which is also perfection. And Honeybee's been doing this for years now, and I love it. I love having coordinating wafer dies for my sentiments, because then I never have to worry about stamping them straight. It's perfect. It's perfect. I love it. So I die cut all of these sentiments, and then now I'm going to start adhering all of the things. So I'm just going to use my craft tacky glue. It was a little bit clogged here for a sec, but squeeze that right out, got it going. So I'm going to adhere my big old snowflake. And yes, putting wax seals like this onto a card front, it does create a good chunk of bulk. So cards like this would 100% need extra postage. You're either going to have to put it in a bubble mailer or, a rigid mailer, and between just the bulk and the weight, it's going to cost more to mail. I'm okay with that. I don't do this for all of my cards, and for me, it's just worth it. And you can also put wax seals on your envelopes. I have received many cards from viewers in the past. I've shown them in my Happy Meal hauls, and I've shown the wax seals. That also is what got me into it again, like years ago. Was receiving cards from some of my fabulous viewers, and they had sealed the envelope with a wax seal, and I was like, that is just, I love it. You know, wax seals have been around for centuries, but actually getting one in person, like, coolest thing ever. So anywho, these are bulky. I'm fine with it. I went all out. I added foam dimension to the sentiments and to the one little snowflake. I even adhered the tiny little glitter piece that was die cut from the snowflake I used on the main embellishment. It just cut out of the center, and I just used it as an embellishment. And then on the inside of my cards, these are top folding A2 white note cards. I'm stamping some of the snowflakes from, or just a couple of them, from that Let It Snow set. The first one I inked up with Concord and 9th Stardust ink. And the second one I used, is it Midnight they call it? Midnight, I think. Pretty sure it's Midnight. Yes, Midnight ink. And I only inked each of these stamps up once and then just kept stamping. So I got the first generation, second generation, third. With the blue one, I got like 6 generations of stamping with that one color, because the Midnight ink is super, super dark, super, super intense. So yeah, that way I get multiple snowflakes, but they're, you know, different shades of the same color. Plus I didn't want them all super intense because I do write over this. I always get asked that. Anything I put on the inside of the cards, obviously this heat embossed sentiment, I'll write around it. But everything else, I'll write right on top of. That's fine with me. So adhere those sentiments to the insides of the cards. And then my card fronts, I'm going to adhere to the card bases. And I think I mentioned the card bases are top folding A2 white note cards. So they're 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And the card fronts completely cover the card base. So I adhered those with craft tacky glue. Could most definitely end here. But there's also coordinating bling, and I used that, some of it. I used some of it as well, instead of hoarding it, because I hoard this with the pattern paper, along with everything else. Like, I am a professional curator of crafty supplies. Anyway, I'm using the metallic mix pearl stickers, and I use just there's like soft matte silver ones, and they're self-adhesive. So I just pick them up with my little die pick there and press them into place. So I just added a few of those, just sprinkled them around the card. And once I got those into place, these cards are complete. So like I mentioned in the intro, I will have links to both my holiday playlist as well as the wax seal playlist in the end screen of this video, so you guys can check those out if you're interested. And then all of the supplies I used will be listed and linked in the description box directly below the video. I will also link to my blog post, because you can head on over there. I'll have the photos, I'll have picture links to everything, so you can check out all of that info directly below if you are interested. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos, and for thumbs upping and commenting, letting those robot overlords know that you guys like what you're seeing, aka the algorithms, because I'm at the mercy of them. Literally, that's my job. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.